All right, guys, welcome to session one of Oxyfuel cutting. Hey, objectives. When you finish, you should be able to describe oxyfuel cutting and identify related safe work practices. Describe basic oxyfuel cutting. Describe safe work practices related to oxyfuel cutting. Identify and describe oxyfuel cutting equipment and consumables. Identify and describe various gases and cylinders used for oxyfuel cutting. Identify and describe hoses and various types of regulators. Identify and describe cutting torches and tips. Okay, the oxyfuel process. Surprising, oxyfuel cutting oxidizes metal in a manner similar to an extreme accelerated rusting process. Okay, so we're not actually melting it, we're burning it away, or accelerating a rusting process to break it down. So it's a chemical reaction, not a melting. Okay, protective clothing. Due to the intense heat, light, sparks, and toxic fumes, appropriate PPE must be worn. Safety glasses, earplugs, gauntlet-type welding gloves, cotton or wool outer garments, pant legs all the way to the instep of the boot, no cuffs, leather boots or shoe protection, which could also be called spats. And then you want a shaded face shield, shade 3 to 5. Okay, fire and explosion prevention. To minimize or eliminate oxygen in a container after cleaning, it must be filled with an inert gas or water. Hey guys, here's the long and the short of it. In my class, we're just not going to mess with tanks. Hey, if you work at a place where you guys do this, they're going to train you. They're going to have procedures in place to do so. Hey, cylinder handling and storage. You want to keep cylinders upright. Keep cylinders with combustible gas in one area of the building for safety. Cylinder storage areas must be away from halls, stairwells, and exits. Oxygen and fuel gas cylinders or other flammable materials must be stored separately. Inert gas cylinder storage and empty cylinders can be stored together. Electrically energized parts must not come in contact with a cylinder. When opening a cylinder valve, operators should stand with the valve body between themselves and the regulator. If a cylinder is frozen to the ground, use warm water, not boiling, to loosen it. Okay, cutting gases. A typical oxyfuel cutting outfit includes oxygen, fuel gas cylinders, regulators, hoses, and cutting torches. The cutting torch. Okay, so you can see here on the diagram, points out those different items. Okay, high pressure oxygen cylinder markings and sizes. All right, guys, so I'm correct. I believe that our sizes, we have 256s are what we use out there. These are just some of the basic manufacturer markings that are on the cylinders. Remember, like I said, these are high pressure cylinders. They're holding somewhere around 2,500 PSI worth of oxygen inside. Okay, oxygen cylinder valve. Pressure relief valve is installed. The valve assembly that allows gas to escape if the pressure increases to unsafe level. The protective safety cap must not be removed unless the cylinder is secured. Okay, we went over this. Remember, that's the safety plug. We looked at some of the markings, and some suppliers include RFID tags on their cylinders. Okay, acetylene. Acetylene is an extremely volatile and can easily explode. The cylinder design uses a safety fuse plug that melts at 220 degrees Fahrenheit on the cylinder top and bottom. Okay, remember, I pointed those out during the setup session. All right, guys, so acetylene cylinders. I believe what we have are 145s. Acetylene's kind of a weird one. Depending on the cylinder, the quality of the filler material inside, and the acetone, the fill on acetylene cylinders is always different from cylinder to cylinder. Okay, flame temperature of oxygen with various fuel gases. Oxygen increases the heat output as it burns. Burning a fuel gas supported by oxygen results in a flame temperature that allows metals to be cut effectively. Acetylene is more than 5,500 degrees Fahrenheit. Propylene is 5,130 degrees Fahrenheit. Natural gas, 4,600, and propane, 4,580. Acetylene is going to be one of the most common gases you guys will use. Propylene is a good, efficient cutting gas that provides a good, clean cut. Propane, you're going to see most widely used in the scrapping industry. It doesn't heat quite as fast, doesn't cut quite as efficiently, but it's cheaper and it works well when cutting on rusty or dirty materials. Okay, liquefied fuel gases. A look inside a fuel gas cylinder shows that most fuels are in a liquid state with a vaporized gas area above it. Okay. Regulators and hoses. Although oxygen and fuel gas regulators look similar, there are important differences. Okay, we went over this, guys. Remember, your cylinder valve connection is different. Your inlet, the oxygen, it's a female right-handed thread connection. Your acetylene is a male left-handed thread connection, and then the pressures that they can work in is much different as well. Okay, two-stage regulators. A two-stage regulator reduces pressures in two steps, first changing the cylinder pressure to an intermediate pressure and then reducing it to an output pressure. Okay, check valves and flashback arresters. An add-on check valve allows gas to flow one way only, while the flashback arrestor prevents flashbacks from traveling into the hose or the regulator. And remember, on our Victor torch handles, both of these items are built into the torch handle. Gas distribution manifold. Large-scale cutting operations use a gas distribution manifold with high-pressure hoses called pigtails to connect to each workstation. Okay, list of OSHA safety practices. Fuel gas and oxygen substance names must appear. Fuel gas and oxygen manifolds must not be placed in confined spaces. They must be placed in a safe, well-ventilated, and accessible location. Hose connections cannot be interchangeable between the fuel gas and oxygen. Hose connections must be kept free of oil and grease. Unused manifold and header hose connections must be capped, and manifold interface or damage is not acceptable. Interference or damage is is unacceptable. Hose maintenance. Keep hoses away from cutting activities. Frequently inspect hoses. Do not use pipe fitting compounds or lubricants around the hoses. Torches and tips. The cutting torch mixes fuel gas and oxygen in a controlled flame to heat or cut. Okay, this torch shown here is a cutter only type torch. Hand cutting torch attachment. A hand cutting torch attachment mixes the two gases for the preheat flame. A second tube carries pure oxygen to the tip where it is used to displace the melted material. Combination torch. The torch handle accommodates a simple heating tip or a cutting tip attachment. Okay, this is a cutaway of a torch handle, just like the ones that we use in class. Okay, cutting torch tips. Okay, there's one piece and two piece cutting tips. They can be removed and replaced for different applications. Okay, we use a one piece tip for acetylene. The most common two piece tip that you'll see is for cutting using propane as a fuel gas. Okay, here's a tip chart. These are manufacturer charts providing excellent guidance in tip selection. Okay, so this gives you the material thickness that you'll cut and the size of tip recommended. Okay, here's some cutting torch tips. These are special purpose torch tips, cutting tips for gouging and washing, have various features to support different applications. All right, guys, make sure and complete the quiz and the trade terms and watch session 2 and 3.